You think you know someone, but life has a twisted way of proving you wrong. I thought my husband was just going through a phase until I found out why he painted our car bright pink. I always thought my life was normal and almost boring. I married my college sweetheart, Bradley, and we built a comfortable life together. We lived in a quiet neighborhood where the occasional garage sale was the most exciting thing. Bradley was dependable, if a little predictable, and our days revolved around work, dinners in front of the TV, and weekend trips to the hardware store. It was not exactly thrilling, but it worked for us. Then, out of nowhere, Bradley started acting strange. He'd been staying late at work a lot, always with some excuse about tight deadlines or impossible clients. At first, I didn't think much of it. I'd get home from my job at the local library, fix myself a cup of tea, and settle into the usual evening routine of scrolling through social media or half-heartedly binge-watching whatever show was trending. Our conversations had grown stale, just the same old "how was your day" kind of stuff, and most of the time, his answers were clipped, as if he was barely paying attention. One afternoon, he came home grinning like he'd just won the lottery. "Guess what I did today?" he announced, his eyes practically sparkling. I looked up from my book, barely interested. "What?" "I repainted the car," he said, puffing out his chest like he'd done something heroic. I chuckled, thinking he was joking. "What, like a touch-up? A new bumper? Something practical?" "No," he said, shaking his head. "I went all out. I painted it bright pink." I blinked, not sure if I'd heard him right. Pink. As in like, pink. He nodded enthusiastically. "Hot pink. It looks awesome." I followed him outside, my heart sinking as I turned the corner of our driveway, and there was our once subtle silver sedan, now glowing like a neon sign in the middle of our quiet cul-de-sac. It was so pink that I half expected it to start playing bubblegum pop music as soon as I looked at it. "What were you thinking, Brad?" I blurted out, unable to hide my shock. "We're not 16-year-olds driving around in a Barbie dream car." He shrugged, completely unfazed. "I don't know, Kirsten, I just thought it'd be fun. It's just paint, right? No big deal." I stared at him, searching for any sign that he might be joking. But no, he was serious. "Brad, we have a perfectly good car, and now it looks like it belongs on a drag race track. Why would you do this?" He waved me off. "I just wanted to try something different, you know. Life's too short to be boring." I tried to brush it off as some bizarre phase, a midlife crisis maybe. He had been more distant lately, and I thought maybe this was his way of coping, some weird attempt at reclaiming his youth. But every time I saw that car parked outside, it felt like a giant question mark I couldn't ignore. A few days later, my friend Irene came over for tea. We were sitting in the kitchen, gossiping about everything and nothing, when she spotted the car through the window. She snorted, almost choking on her tea. "Oh my God, Kirsten, who did you steal that from?" "The Pink Ladies." I rolled my eyes, embarrassed. "Don't even start. That's Bradley's masterpiece. Apparently he's decided to reinvent himself as Mr. Midlife Crisis." Irene's smile faded, and she glanced nervously at me. "Kirsten, are you sure that's what this is?" "What do you mean?" I asked, frowning. She hesitated, then leaned in closer. "You didn't hear this from me, but Bradley's not trying to stand out. He's trying to blend in." My stomach twisted at her words. Irene wasn't one to speak lightly about anything, and the way her voice dropped sent a chill down my spine. I didn't know what she meant exactly, but whatever it was, it didn't feel good. For the first time, I realized this wasn't just a car. It was a sign one I didn't want to read. I couldn't get Irene's words out of my head. He's trying to blend in. What did that even mean? I spent the rest of the evening staring at that pink monstrosity in the driveway, feeling my anxiety twist into something sharper: anger, suspicion, maybe both. Bradley was already in bed when I finally dragged myself inside, but sleep didn't come easily. I tossed and turned, the glow of the streetlights creeping through the blinds, casting a sickly pink hue over everything. The next morning, Bradley was up early, whistling in the kitchen, as if everything was perfectly normal. I watched him from the doorway, feeling like I was seeing a stranger. He poured himself coffee, oblivious to the tension simmering in the room. "Morning," he said, flashing that easygoing smile that once made me fall in love with him. "Do you want some eggs? I'm making extra." "No, I'm good," I mumbled, barely looking at him. I wanted to scream to ask him what the hell was going on, but instead I just stared at his back as he hummed to himself like we were some happy, clueless couple. He went to work without a second thought, and I decided I'd had enough. Irene's words echoed in my mind, and I knew I needed answers. I grabbed my phone and called her. "Irene, you can't just drop something like that and leave me hanging," I said, my voice shaking. "What did you mean about Bradley blending in?" There was a long pause on the other end. "Kirsten, I didn't want to be the one to tell you, but you deserve to know," Irene said, sounding more serious than I'd ever heard her. "I've seen Bradley's car parked outside Vanessa's house. You know, that flashy young realtor whose husband's always out of town." I felt the blood drain from my face. "You're kidding, right? Bradley wouldn't. He's not that kind of guy." I wouldn't have believed it either, but I saw it with my own eyes. A few times. It's always when her husband's away. And I'm sorry, but that pink car. It's like his way of making sure no one suspects anything. No one's gonna think twice about a bright pink car outside a house, right? The room spun as I sank into the chair, trying to piece it all together. My head was pounding, my heart racing. Had Bradley painted our car hot pink to sneak around with his mistress? How had I been so blind? "Thank you for telling me," I whispered, hanging up and feeling a surge of determination I hadn't felt in years. Bradley thought he was clever, but he'd messed with the wrong woman. I decided I wasn't going to confront him outright. Not yet. I needed a plan. So I bided my time, pretending everything was fine. I smiled, cooked dinner, and even laughed at his stupid jokes. But behind that smile, I was plotting my revenge. A week later, when Bradley left for another late meeting, I followed him. My heart pounded as I tailed the pink car through winding streets until it finally pulled up outside Vanessa's pristine suburban home. I watched as he casually strolled up to her door, knocked twice, and slipped inside like it was nothing. I could feel my anger boiling over. I wasn't going to let him get away with this. I snapped a few photos with my phone, just in case, and then it hit me I knew exactly how to get back at him. The next day I made a few calls. I set up an appointment with a lawyer and then contacted Vanessa's husband, Richard. He'd been away on business for months, and I figured he'd appreciate knowing what was happening under his roof. When Richard answered my call, I could hear the disbelief in his voice. "You're telling me my wife's been sneaking around with some guy in a pink car? Are you sure?" "I've got pictures," I said, sending them over. I heard the silence stretch on the other end, followed by a deep, angry sigh. "This explains a lot," Richard muttered. "I've had my suspicions, but I never imagined it was this blatant. Thank you for telling me. I'll take care of it." I hung up, feeling a twisted sense of satisfaction. I didn't stop there. I made sure Bradley's little pink secret got out in the most public way possible. I printed out the photos and mailed them anonymously to his office, to our neighbors, and even to Vanessa's real estate agency. It wasn't long before everyone knew the truth about Bradley's so-called late nights. When Bradley came home that evening, he looked pale, like he'd seen a ghost. He tossed his keys on the counter and sat down, rubbing his temples. "What's wrong, Brad?" I asked sweetly, feigning innocence. "Rough day." He looked at me and I could see the panic in his eyes. "Somebody's spreading lies about me, Kirsten. Everyone at work got these fake pictures of me with a woman. You have no idea how bad this looks." I shrugged, barely containing my smile. "You know what, Brad? This is what happens when you sneak around and cheat on your wife." Bradley was dumbfounded. He wanted to defend himself, but I didn't give him the chance. I pulled out the divorce papers I'd filed that morning and slid them across the table. I'm done, Brad. You can keep your pink car, your lies, and your mistress. I'm taking my dignity and getting the hell out of here. He stared at the papers, his face crumbling. Kirsten, wait, No, I cut him off, feeling stronger than I'd felt in years. You don't get to explain. You made your choice. Now live with it. I walked out of that kitchen with my head held high, ready to start over. The pink car was gone from our driveway the next day, and so was Bradley. I didn't care where he went. I was finally free, and that was all that mattered. What would you have done in my place?